Alright guys, nice quick tutorial today. I've got a second-hand VCM intake for my 6-litre V8. Today I'm just going to show you how to whack it in. First thing we want to do is we want to take this engine cover off. These are just clipped on, so they'll just lift up. So you can see it's got 4 little clips there. Just pull it off, put that to the side. Next we've got a hose clamp there. We've got a hose clamp there, and we've got a hose clamp there. Just want to take those off. I'll just loosen them rather. Loosen that one, loosen that one, and then we'll want to disengage our MAF plug here as well. Just do that by grabbing it and giving it a bit of a pinch there. It's got that little tab, just push that down. Next we need to remove the bolts holding in the airbox. These are located near the jump start terminals. Next we want to take off this breather hose here. So get your little screwdriver, there's this little tab there, just push that up, the thing just pops off. When you've done that, this whole front assembly is ready to come out. So just pull it gently from the front, that just pops off from the throttle body, and then pop it off from your airbox there. Then out that comes. Same with your airbox. Now that we've got all those bolts undone, that should just lift up and slide out. Love Johnny. This is an optional extra. You don't really need it. All it does is we'll fill in this big cavity that the original airbox has left. So we'll get this little infill panel here. We'll slip it over that little mounting hole there and just make sure it pinches in nice down at the bottom. Down here. Can be a little bit fiddly, but should just sit there like that. Ready to go. And just use the factory bolts to mount it. With your other bolt, just stick it back on the now blank post. This is just if you ever want to return the car to factory, you won't lose it. Right, next we want to remove the radiator mounts. To do that, get a flat blade screwdriver, stick it under this little tab here, just pry that up. That should just pop up, and the whole thing should just lift up like that. Do that on both sides. Let's lift that up. Lift it up and give it a bit of a wiggle, and she should come up, just like that. Now your radiator's dropped. All right, once you've got those out, just lift up the top sections completely. Do that on both of them. Just put those to the side. Now, if you can get the camera in back here, there's a bolt at the bottom of this thing. Same on both sides. It's a 10mm, so we're going to remove that. Right, now that we've got that little bolt out, there's this cable harness attached to it with these 2 little pins here. If you're lucky, they might be loose, that you can get your fingers to just push them out. Otherwise, you might need a set of long nose pliers or something like that. There we go, comes out. Do that for both sides, and we'll remove our mounts. That's still rolling. With these bolts, don't lose them, we will be using them later. It comes out, pops out like that. Alright, next we'll want to be taking out these bolts here on either side, holding the air conditioner on, or the condenser rather. So that's again another 10mm. So fingers crossed, once you get these cracked, they should be finger tight, which they are. Again, don't lose these bolts, we'll use them later. All right, now we'll be installing our brackets, which will be holding our dropped radiator down. So they are different. So one side will only go in one way. It's quite easy to work out. Let's stick that one in my pocket for now. So basically, you've got your little welded on nut on the back of that one, and the other side is just a straight through and through. So you'll want to stick it on this little hole here, this factory hole, and then you'll see which way they line up quite easily, because one will go there and it's only going to go in one way. So once you got it there, get your black bolt that was holding on the radiator support, and we'll just use that to screw in our bracket at this point here. Now we don't want these super tight just yet, because we want to line up the other bolts as well. So once you got it to that point, sort of just finger tight, it can still move around. Hit your bolt that was holding on your aircon condenser and use that just to basically remount everything, but now you've got a bracket in the way as well. So this will keep everything secure so it doesn't move around when you're driving. Again, just sort of have that finger tight while you do the other side. It's the same deal as the other side. Threaded side goes on the bodywork. We'll use our black bolt to go through this end. Again, just keep them sort of finger tight at this point, just to be able to locate everything, just like that. And we'll get our aircon condenser bolt to again go through that side, go through our condenser, and then go through our radiator, and then secure everything nicely. So when this is all done, everything will be fixed, locked, not going anywhere, and good as factory. For this, I'd recommend doing it up by sort of hand as far as you can go, and then get a ratcheting spanner on it. Make sure you got it set the right way and tighten that up. Now, of course, being a ratcheting spanner, don't tighten it all the way to the end, because you'll bugger the ratchet. All right, that's that. And we'll get our 10mm socket on this top bolt, or you can use a billet set screwdriver, whichever is easier. I find the socket is less likely to jump around though. Right there, nice and tight. That radiator is not going anywhere now, so it's all good. Now's the fun bit. I'm retaining the MAF, so that way I don't have to get a custom MAFless tune. That's much easier for the everyday guy. Otherwise, you've got to get a custom tune, and it's the whole thing. Whether the benefit of getting MAFless or not, that's a different topic. We'll go over that later. Anyway, so we want to take the factory MAF off the factory intake. Just do that by completely loosening those hose clamps from before. She should just pop out. Out she comes. And then pop off the other boot as well. That should just slide off. All right, there's your MAF. Now, with this, what we want to do is we want to attach it to this. So the MAF will have an arrow on it. Make sure that arrow is pointing towards the intake of the car. So we want to just slide that in there, like that. Also, have your plug facing to the right-hand side of the car as you're looking at the car. So I have that. We'll get our trusty hose clamp, which I'll loosen off a fair bit so I can slide it over. Just loosen that off. With your hose clamps as well, put your screw end on a side where you can actually work on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that out, put it on that way, and then pop it back on. Like that. Get a screw nice and up to the top. All right. Now, it might be easier, might not be. Fold that down just so you can get your screwdriver on your hose clamp. But as you flip it over, you'll notice that the boot wants to start sliding off. So try and keep pressure on it. Might make it a bit easier, but it will argue and fight against you. Alrighty. Alright, now we want to put the adapter boot on for our MAF, so that just slides over that. Again, have your screws facing towards the sky, so that way it'll be easy to service if you ever want to take them off. Make sure your hose clamp's on correctly. That's better. Just give that a final tighten. Alrighty, so that's all good. Now we'll get our new intake here. We'll get our big bloody thing here. So we'll stick our hose clamp over that, stand that up, and we'll slide this boot onto the intake itself. That's all good, and then we'll tighten that one up too. Now, these clamps don't have to be overly tight, just tight enough so nothing's going anywhere. Right, so once we got that all sweet, she's good to go in the car. Now we're right to install the actual intake. So this is sort of the tricky bit. So try and squeeze it in either side of our new brackets that we've put in. Make sure not to lose any clamps. And then push it in from the front. So the front goes down. And now here's the tricky bit, because this boot has a lip that goes around it. Just need to make sure this boot is completely around the throttle body, which it is there, which is all nice and seated. We can get our hose clamp and put that back into place. I'll loosen that off a little bit. There we go. All right, with that all sorted, that's now ready to be all tightened up. So I'll get me a little screwdriver and just give that a final tighten. Alrighty, so our intake is mostly installed now. Here's the tricky bit. Here's probably the hardest bit out of this whole thing, only because it's a pain. This is our new breather hose, which will go from the intake here, so it's got a little cutout there, and then on the other side of our engine, just above the rocker cover, we've got a little return there. So we need to put that on. When I received this hose, it didn't have any sort of bevel on the outside. So I had to just put that in, route it under these cables here, and then when you get it up to this point, I've now ferruled mine out, but if you're struggling with it, it doesn't have a clip, get a heat gun on it. So if you stick a heat gun on it, it'll soften up the plastic and it'll let you push the thing on. So you want it really, oh, sorry camera, you want it really quite on there, just so it's not going anywhere. So that's the hardest bit. You'll probably need a heat gun to do that. Apart from that, just make sure she's all nice and seated there. And that's pretty much good to go. This is now ready to be able to function, but I'm going to show you a few extra steps just to sort of tidy things up. All right, one more thing. You'll actually have to reconnect your MAF sensor plug. So it used to sit around here, so you might have to remove this, this clip here. Just get some pliers or something to push that out. In my case, it's actually giving me enough length. Run it under your power steering fluid bottle and plug it in there. Make sure you hear a nice click. So that's not going anywhere now, and now this is good to drive. Right, now this bit is completely optional. This is just to tidy up your engine bay here. You can buy these filler panels just to make things a bit tidier. So they'll obviously only go on the one side. So these just slot in here. So get it all nice and aligned. It's got 2 holes on either end, and then use the clips that have been provided with them as I push it everywhere, just to get them nice and in there. Bang, that's in. Loosen this clip. Base is in, top's in, it's not going anywhere. Do that for both sides. Just sits over that. So you can see just the holes there and there. Again, clip goes in, top goes down, clip goes in, top goes down. Then there's one more clip here in the middle. Again, just push that base in there and push the locking thing in there. With that all sorted, she's good to go. All we have to do now, put our engine cover back on. Like that. Hunky dory. There you go, intake done. All right guys, there we have it. We've got our new VCM OTR intake installed and our 6 litre. We'll fire her up and see how she sounds. As soon as I find the clutch, there we go.